Hi, presentation coming up about the headline. But before we start, I just want to remind you to go and check out my website, destinypalmistry.com, and check out the menu for my giveaway, free palmistry ebook giveaway. I'm giving away one ebook every single month, and I'll just randomly choose a winner. So get on that list, and good luck. See ya. Hi there, this is super exciting, talking more about the headline. This is part 3. If you haven't seen part 1 and 2, go ahead and check that out. I've got quite a bit of information there. I've also done one on broken headline, and soon I'll be doing marks on the headline. That's very exciting. I love looking at the line of head on the palm because it is the most interesting line to me. You can see personality there, you can see if the person is stressed out, and there's just so many things about the headline that I love, so which is why we're talking about it. So I'm going to be doing some scribbling for you, and here are the 12 different types of headline that we're going to talk about and how they represent a personality trait. Okay, the first one is a short headline. So a short headline is when it basically stops around about between the ring finger and the middle finger. So it's not going to go much beyond halfway. It might go slightly halfway, but it won't go much beyond the halfway mark of the palm. A short one is someone, its personality is someone who is a specialist. They have specialist knowledge, and they usually have good power of concentration. They can quickly apply what they've learned, and they don't tend to need to think too hard about what they're doing. So whereas the long headline, this person likes to think things through more thoroughly. They have a wider range of interests and they're a good researcher, whereas the short headline would probably prefer not to do too much researching. The long headline also tend to have many hobbies. They can absorb a lot of information. So that is the line of someone who overthinks. The short headline is not likely to overthink. The deep headline, meaning that it's etched deeply, that it's very visible, so it's thicker than the other lines, and it's etched deeply, so it sometimes looks more reddish. So this shows someone who has the ability to concentrate really well. They can finish what they start, and they are driven by their mind, so they have a rational way of thinking. They're not going to be emotional. So if the heart line, which is the line above, if that was going to be stronger, then the person is going to be more emotional. But the deep headline is irrational. Now light, when I say light, I mean so it's faint, you can hardly see it, so it's very thin. And obviously the heart line will be stronger. So that shows a weak mental energy. So their energy is more emotional. So they can tire easily, mentally get tired. They can get stressed easily, and they definitely need more sleep. So the very light, faint headline probably needs a lot of sleep. Now the wavy headline, that's very interesting. You don't see it often, but sometimes the line actually wavers like that. And that shows someone who's easily distracted. They can have ups, like their mood can be up and down. They can have ups and they can have downs. So wherever there's a rise, that shows a period of mental clarity. And then when there's a down, it shows a period of non-clarity. And when it goes back up again, it's happy again. This could be a line that you might see on someone who is bipolar or someone who suffers from depression, or just simply hyperactive that they can't focus on the one thing for very long. Yeah, easily distracted. Next we have the dipping line. What I mean by dipping line is that it, instead of going straight like in this photo here, the headline actually dips down to the amount of moon. So when it dips deeply like that, it's a creative personality. They have a desire for deeper meanings in everything, and they're not going to let things go easily. They're quite a complex personality. They're very difficult to understand, and if you know a person like this, they are probably moody. They can suffer in the emotions quite deeply. So because it's deep, everything is deep about that person, emotionally and otherwise. Next one we have the straight line. Okay, the straight line is obvious. It goes straight. Instead of having pointing, rising up high and then slowly curving down, obviously it's going to go straight across. My pens aren't working. And it will just look directly straight. And that shows someone with a lot of common sense. They are very practical. They're not the creative type generally. Everything they do is very mathematical and realistic. So it's a very realistic type headline. They're not the dreamy, moody type like the dipping one that I just talked about. Next, widely separated. So what I mean by that is there is a lifeline that goes around the ball of the thumb, and then there's the headline. So if they are widely separated, what that means is that the lifeline, there's a gap here, separated from the lifeline. So widely separated from the lifeline shows more impulsive personality. They love life, they're carefree and sometimes careless. So they're very independent personality. Now, if it's the opposite and they are closely tied to one another, that shows that the person is attached to very attached to the family, and they are more insecure as a child. So it shows a little bit more insecurity. So that person was probably a shy child or just very careful. So they have a careful personality. They're not as outgoing and sort of impulsive as that widely separated personality. Next we have, okay, so it's for coming from inside the lifeline. This you don't see often at all. If the headline literally appears to just grow from inside the lifeline, it's a terrible drawing. Anyway, you know what I mean. There's the lifeline. If it grows from there and rises across, so that shows very defensive and nervous personality, and it would stem from something early in their life. They probably suffered some kind of a trauma which has caused them to have this nervous character, very insecure. Now, sometimes it can come up from the Jupiter mount. And Jupiter mount is the area under the index finger. If a headline literally rises or falls, actually, if it falls from on the Jupiter mount, that shows a very ambitious personality. So that personal ambition will be really great in their life. So they are definitely independent, they're carefree, they're ambitious. You have to be careful when you look at that line. Sometimes there's a rising line, which has similar meanings. And lastly, we're going to talk about the double headline. This is quite rare. I have talked about this before in my other sample video. Sometimes the headline is forked, but sometimes there's actually two lines. So double headline is very interesting indeed, because that can show two facets of the personality. So they might be, for example, a musician who's also a mathematician, so two different traits. There might be a sports person who's an accountant. So there's two personalities that can work together. Sometimes one of these headlines dips. If one dips, that shows a more creative personality. If the other headline is more straight, then that shows that the practical side. So either way, a double headline can suggest a multi-talented person, and it can suggest multiple personalities. So the person might be a certain way at work, and then they're a completely different person at home, as an example. So there you go. I think I've covered them all. If I missed something, you let me know, won't you? And I look forward to doing the marks on the headline next. So I'll catch up with you later. See you, bye.